Hi, welcome to Driving Digital Adoption for Higher Education presented by Collaborative Solutions. Next slide. A little bit about Collaborative Solutions. We are a finance, HR, and student cloud transformation consultancy. We've worked with over 800 Workday customers and are very proud of sustaining our 98% customer satisfaction rate. What are some important things about us to know? Our change management practice is all Workday certified, and our methodology is based on the ProSci methodology. We have an all-encompassing strategy planning and post-go live services and consider ourselves the undisputed alternative to the Big Four. We know that happy customers rely on happy employees, and we are very proud of our workplace awards that we've been receiving that you can see on the bottom. Now a little bit about us. I'm Danielle White, Vice President of Strategy and Transformation. I've been with Collaborative Solutions for almost 7.5 years now, where I've worked across the board with delivery as well as strategy and transformation. And now I'm focused really on helping our clients optimize their digital transformation efforts. We also have with us today John Ziza. John is a manager in our OC&T practice and has been with Collaborative for 2 years and in the Workday ecosystem for 7 years. During that time, he's supported over 30 projects. We also have Jimmy Barton. He has 10 years plus of project leadership and strategy consulting experience. And the last 2 years at Collaborative have been focused on change and training to support digital transformation for our customers. Today, we're going to talk about how Collaborative drives digital transformation, how change management drives digital adoption, what some digital adoption solutions are, give you a demonstration of one of those adoption solutions, including Adopt, and then we'll close out with some Q&A. So how do we drive digital transformation? As I mentioned, Collaborative Solutions is a full-service HR, finance, and student consultancy that enables our clients' digital transformation to align their enterprise HR, finance, and student systems to their business strategy. How do we do that? Next slide. Digital transformation to Collaborative Solutions is really a reimagining of how technology, people, process, and data work together to meet business strategies today and provide the foundation for meeting business strategy in the future. We do not consider digital transformation a lift and shift of manual processes to a digital tool, but really take a holistic look at how it impacts your people across their design, adoption, and your culture. What does it mean for your processes across standardization, optimization, and automation? What's the impact across your technology stack, including your cloud and mobile-enabled products, your smart products, including RPA and machine learning, as well as your integration amongst all your systems, and ultimately really helping make data the foundation of making data-driven decision-making, including data privacy and data governance. Our services are focused in these areas to really drive the success of your digital transformation efforts. Next slide. But our key themes are really about the person-centered design that digital transformation is based on. Digital transformation is not successful without digital adoption. You can have all the greatest tools out there at your disposal, but if people are not using them, then we're not achieving our goals. But who are we talking about? The technology consumers are not just employees. They include employees, but they're also our partners, our students, our alumni, our customers, and even in some instances, the community. And it isn't a singular point in time when we talk about transformation. It's a process that never ends. Depending on your current digital maturity model, this transformation can be considered revolutionary or evolutionary to your organization. So how do we support digital transformation here at Collaborative Solutions? We understand that for us, digital transformation is powered by Workday. Our encompassing Workday services include a strategy and transformation practice and organizational change and training, as you saw previously. But it's extended by our strong partnership network, including products such as Suppleri and Phenom People, Automation Anywhere and ADP Smart Compliance, Safeguard Global and Rootstock, and then enabled by Applearn, which you're going to hear much more about later as we do a demo of the Adopt product. So next, to continue, we want to talk about a poll for everyone. So if you could, you should see a poll pop up here in a second. Are you currently going through a digital transformation? If everyone's had an opportunity to actually complete the polling question, I'd love to see our results.
We are about 88% have voted. And once
Thank
everyone
you.
has voted, I can share.
Excellent.
So based on what we've received so far, I'm unable to kind of present it for us, but 83% are yes and 17% are no.
Thanks, Jimmy. So next, John is going to talk to us about how change management drives digital adoption.
Thanks so much, Danielle. So Danielle gave us a walkthrough of digital transformation, and Jimmy and I are going to speak with you about how to drive digital adoption using change strategies and tactics. And as we heard from Danielle, your digital transformation is your overall vision that guides your short and long-term strategic objectives. Now, what we do on the change side is we try to support that vision by enabling our end users to adopt the new technology and change their behaviors. So it doesn't matter if we buy state-of-the-art technology or we optimize and streamline all our processes if our people do not use the new tools effectively and in the manner that we want them to use them. So the bottom line, we're not going to achieve our organizational goals without strong adoption. And the way we drive adoption is through a structured change management approach. So change management is the discipline that connects our goals in digital transformation to our goals in digital adoption. At Collaborative, we use a framework based in ProSize change management methodology that helps us identify changes, understand and categorize the impact of those changes, and then design solutions that reduce risk and maximize adoption across our stakeholder groups. So we'll speak more in depth soon on the tactics that we employ, but just at a high level, our strategy is to support people just in time at their point of need. We use a variety of methods to do this. It could be job aids, instructional videos. There are built-in tools in Workday that we can leverage. And we're also going to show you a more enhanced form of just-in-time support via the Adopt platform, and we'll show you a demo of that a little later. But regardless of what the tactics are that you're using, the idea is to improve the experience of the end user so they just have an easier time using the technology. So I'll turn it over to Jimmy at this point. He's going to discuss the digital landscape.
Thanks, John. I'd like you to take a moment and kind of absorb this slide. Now, we live in a digital world where no one system can do what another one does. To add to that, there are often outdated and inefficient manual processes that still remain and are protected behind those barriers of the status quo, or if it works, why fix it? However, they don't often integrate with each other, and your faculty or digital workforce enters this digital landscape really through a plethora of systems in different ways. There are HCM and finance management systems like Workday. There are learning management systems, expense management systems, workforce management systems. You have web-based collaborative software, customer relations management software, IT help desk software. Hold on a second, I gotta catch my breath. And of course, your internal proprietary software and or manual process that you just cannot live without. Now, I'd like you to try and imagine your current platforms and softwares as puzzle pieces. And this is often what we're faced with when we're learning what systems you use and how they either work together or are kind of entangled together if you think about it from a change management standpoint. And what we work to do is take away the noise of all the various entry and exit points of digital information and manual processes. And it can often be a bit of a jigsaw puzzle as we work to understand the needs of your software and really how your digital workforce and others interact within this digital landscape that you have. And ultimately, the big takeaway is that we work with you to bring alignment and how through digital adoption, you can really successfully attain a sustainable digital transformation. Now, I'll hand it back over to John so we can start to talk more about digital adoption through change management.
Thanks, Jimmy. All right. So this is a roadmap, a summary level view of our activities and deliverables that we use to drive change with our clients. Some people call this our Candyland slide, which is a fun way to look at it. I've also heard people call it the mood ring, which is a little more retro. But the idea here is to plan for change before the start of the project or at the start of the project, and seek to drive gradual change within the organization. So up front, we start by conducting research into an organization's culture, processes, people, and we identify changes. We also identify risks of not changing, and we create plans for managing these changes before and after go live. So we've called out a number of items we want to discuss today, and the first one we'll talk about is sponsorship. So I mentioned ProSci before. They're one of the leading change management think tanks out there, and their research says that change efforts succeed or fail based on the strength and engagement of sponsorship. Now, when I first heard that, I was really surprised by that. I have more of a training and L&D background, and I thought, no, training is the number one thing. This is why we succeed or fail. But it turns out that sponsorship is really the key to driving the success of these projects. So ProSci uses an ABC model to define what sponsors should be doing to support change initiatives. And very simply, they should be active and visible, they should build a coalition, and they should communicate directly. So take a minute, ask yourselves, for those of you who maybe you're not going through a digital transformation just yet, but you have, I'm sure, gone through transformations in past projects, or for the 83% of you who are currently on a digital transformation, did you feel like your leaders, your sponsors were active? And by that, I mean, did they attend key meetings? Were they talking to key players on the project? Were they talking to end users themselves? Ask yourselves, did your leaders build a coalition of mini sponsors who could influence other areas of the university? Did leaders elsewhere in the organization, if they have a negative view of a project or a technology, that can really influence how other people feel about it. So negativity from leaders can sink your projects. We try to work with your sponsors to help drive positive change within the areas that they support. Now, lastly, we want your sponsors to communicate directly to end users. And there are a lot of ways to do this, but some examples are you could give sponsors talking points to use at town halls or forums. You can send university-wide emails from your sponsors. You can have your sponsors sit for a promotional video promoting the technology or the change or the vision of the project. And you can have your sponsors set face-to-face meetings with folks. There are a lot of different ways to get your sponsors out active and visible and in front of the people that they're trying to support through this change. So, speaking from me personally, when my leadership gets behind an initiative, that really helps me get a lot more excited about what's coming and what my role is going to be. All right. So we're going to move on to the next component now and chat about change networks and communication. So change champions are a critical component of driving in-house digital adoption. As a consultant, I'm not around very long after these projects end. So one of the key investments I try to make with my clients is developing a strong change champion network. These are the people who are going to learn about the project. They're going to learn about our change management tactics and become knowledgeable in Workday so that they can go out and cascade that information to their colleagues. I really envision these folks being on the front lines. They're mixing it up. They're talking directly to end users. They're listening for feedback about the project, and then they can bring that feedback back to us in the change team to help us identify what's going well, what could use improvement, and it helps us course correct our strategy before and after go live. I also really lean on these change champions to help deliver training, and they act as the first point of contact for end users before and after go live. So we don't want to just wait until go live to start telling people about the change. We want to really, again, we want to take them on that gradual change journey. So it's not a surprise when we go live. And developing a strong change champion network ensures that there's a support system after we as the consultants leave the project. Now, turning to communications, sure, everyone here is familiar with communications, but they're important to sharing information around the vision of the transformation, the why we're doing it, what's the benefit to the organization, what's the benefit to the end user, all that stuff. We're also sharing process and policy changes that are key to educating people prior to them getting their hands on the system at go live. So a strong comms plan helps us all stay on message and share the key themes and talking points that we want our sponsors and leaders and project team members and so on cascade throughout the project. So at this point, I'm going to hand it back to Jimmy, and he's going to talk to us about how we train folks to enable them to use the technology.
Thanks, John. So when we think about training delivery and support, there's a lot of things that we're really looking at, but one of the biggest ones is to enable end users to work in new ways. Think about your current processes, the confusion around it, sometimes even the disdain amongst faculty and staff. And what we really work to do is provide just-in-time resources and support. The goal is to remove the ambiguity of change, and often this is done through digitally or in person, and we do this really through a plethora of best practice, whether through job aids, guided tours, presentations, structure-led training, in-system step-by-step guided tours, training pages, change champion events, go live events, even digital adoption tools that we'll be talking about. And digital adoption tools act as just that, a tool for us to really enhance what we're doing when we think about our change management. Ultimately, what we're looking to do and looking to succeed at your institution is really finding ways to lead your teams to success. Now, as we kind of transition through this, the last item that we want to focus on is really talking about your change journey. And this is the go live and really sustainment, and kind of digging into these a little bit. When we think about sustainment, the role of organizational change and training consultants is to really leverage our experience to ensure that the structures in place support your end users and allow you as an organization to maximize the updates within the systems that you use, and really to encourage continuous improvements to the various platforms. And it really becomes a realization of investment versus your return on investment. You had a vision, and now you're seeing that vision come together. And without a successful change management plan or digital adoption plan that ties together how you're going to use your new system or systems, how do you expect your staff are going to even know how to use the new systems in the right and meaningful ways in which you intend them to be used? And when they're not used in the right ways, this is what happens when you basically lead to a loss of your investment. Now, one thing that I always preach when I come on site with a client is that the go live is a destination. It's a first step in your change journey. And so often we get caught up in the mad dash or rush to go live. It's all about the go live, that you forget about this is that first step, and that it's really about go live, because you're going to carry a system like Workday or other systems forward into a sustainable future. And you need to make sure that you have a plan in place that's going to make sure that everybody's using that system and kind of aligning with the view, like the vision that you had on it. And we use sustainment activities that are designed to really move stakeholders through change and thinking about that current state when we first come on at the very beginning of a project to that future state of adoption. And in turn, to transformation of the organization. Now, I'll hand it back over to John to highlight a recent success story that he had through change management.
Thank you, sir. So yes, I was on a recent project that just went live in January, and we ran some reports in Workday that brought back these results, which we're very proud of. So in just 3 weeks, we were able to achieve a 97% adoption rate for your average end user. That means people are logging in, they're running transactions successfully. Now, they may be using reference materials for support, or they may even be logging a ticket with the call center if they have a question. That's fine. But in this case, HR was not going back and correcting large numbers of transactions, which means we realized the benefit of some of the change management interventions. Now, the 65% number shows the adoption rate for managers. So with Workday, managers do have a harder time acclimating to the system because their processes are more complicated than your average user. So to get to 65% that quickly was actually a pretty big win. And I was speaking with the client, and they were saying that they had integrated another population from a merger a few years ago, and it took them a full 2 years to achieve a 65% adoption rate with that manager population. So to me, that just reinforced the combined effect of all our change management tactics. And we also, by the way, had strong sponsorship on that project, so that really helped. And I think all of that combined really tells the tale of how we were able to be so successful on this project. And frankly, we expect those manager numbers to only improve over time. And that's really the goal. That kind of speaks to what Jimmy was talking about with sustainment. Yes, we want to have good numbers on go live and good engagement and strong adoption shortly after go live, but we're not just going to have the system for one day. We're going to have it for years. And we're going to constantly have people come into and out of the organization. So having a strong support structure in place to teach people and develop people on these tools and what the vision is for these tools over time is really key to seeing numbers like this and having numbers just improve over time. So I'm going to pass it back to Jimmy now. He's going to show us tactically some digital adoption solutions and show us a demo of that adopt tool that we mentioned.
Oops. Thank you, John. So we've talked a lot about change management and really sprinkled in digital adoption. But now I think we're really going to spend some time and dive into digital adoption tools that exist out there and how we can use tools to achieve a successful digital transformation. Now, some of the more prominent digital adoption solutions that are out there are Applearn, our partner, WalkMe, and WhatFix. And digital adoption solutions are really digital tools and assets that are designed to allow your users to utilize technology to its fullest extent. Now, this is really an emerging area in digital solutions as they all work to try and simplify the user experience across multiple platforms. Now, our digital adoption partner here at Collaborative is Applearn, and Applearn is a market-leading digital adoption solution provider, and they focus really on sustainable adoption strategies based on years of transformation experience, as well as accelerating customer speed to value from their investment in technology, while demonstrating some real business outcomes through data and analytics. And I think as we start to explore some of the digital adoption solutions, one thing that really resonates is the data and analytics, that actionable information that you now have to mitigate and have a sustainable future with any type of systems that you use. So with Applearn, they have what they call the Adopt digital adoption solution. And Adopt is a unified digital adoption solution designed to improve the use of new and existing technology at every stage of the user journey. And change management uses the Adopt solution as a tool to basically enhance our overall adoption of end user support and models and streamline end user engagement across platforms. Now, Adopt currently integrates with most commonly used cloud applications, including many of these listed here, from Workday to ServiceNow to Salesforce and Workforce. There's quite a bit that they integrate with, and it's constantly expanding as the need does. Now, the Adopt module toolset in itself comes with quite a lot of functionality, all addressed to meet some specific need when you think about your digital landscape. for purposes of time today, we're certainly not going to introduce all of the modules that are available, but we are going to focus on some, from smart pages to feedback, cloud content, and others. There's really a lot to think about when you're using a digital adoption solution to address your digital landscape. For the purposes of today, we're going to kind of go into deeper dive into these modules in our upcoming demonstration. We're going to talk to you about smart pages, and we primarily use these to generate awareness. There's also a split screen functionality that's built in for on-demand support in the application. In addition to that, they have training pages, which is basically a cloud-based library that allows you to deliver training and engaging content to your end users. And then, of course, they have what all digital adoption solutions really focus on is trails. And I think this is what sets Adopt so far apart and allows our change management methodology and frameworks to align with them, is that they have so many tools that we can tap into to deliver a streamlined digital transformation. And the trails is really the in-application step-by-step guidance. It's taking you from A to Z and making sure that you're completing a task successfully and entering all that required information to track the right data. What really becomes powerful when we think about any of these digital adoption solutions is analytics, because with Adopt as an example, all the modules that you're using from smart pages to trails, you're tracking usage and adoption of these. So every click, every view, how long it takes, if it's been completed, you get all of that valuable information. And from that, you're able to make much more actionable decisions. So we're going to transition into a quick poll here, and I'm going to bring this poll up. And really, have you used a digital adoption tool to support a digital transformation that you may have or are currently going through? And I'll bring that up right now. So I'm going to share the results back with you. And I think it's pretty resounding here that 92% have not used, and that's okay, because this is really, as I said earlier, an emerging market that's expected to continue to grow and really taking stake. And you're going to see as we go into it kind of why. Because when you think about that digital landscape, all the different systems and how do you integrate those and make them connect and have those end users of yours know how to transition from system to system. So I'm going to hide the results. I thank you for your participation on that. And next, we're going to transition over into the Adopt demo. And let me bring up my environment here. And John, if you can confirm that you are seeing the Adopt demo environment.
I sure am.
All right, thank you so much. So this is our demo environment, the test environment that we use to kind of validate different things that we're using. And I'm going to use this to kind of walk through some of those key modules that we talked about and go a little bit more in detail with it and kind of give you feedback on how you can use it. So Adopt is unique in that it supports you both in the pre-go live phase of an implementation, at go live through certain modules, and then from a post-go live, what I'd like you to do is kind of look at the entire screen and think everything. Because now when we think about post-go live, we're talking about sustainment. And it's where it really becomes valuable, is that you can use all these modules to basically sustain any system or systems that you're using. So when we think about smart pages, we talked about those. Let's go and take a look at what a smart page is. So with smart pages, you can quickly and easily spin up a dedicated web page's content knowledge hubs for your users based on language, role, and location. And it can also deliver pop-up messages directly within the application to guide and educate users, and enables us to share digital content that generates an increased awareness of change. Really, when you think about something like a smart page, the possibilities are endless. Key sponsor videos from the president of the university could be used, in-system navigation videos, imaging, or even key messaging. Here, what we have is just an example of a video. You can play a video, and maybe in this example, we've got, a sponsor providing some feedback of the initiative that something is coming. HR is coming, and we're excited for this, and this is the reason that we're doing it. Remember the key with sponsors. So we kind of go back into our demo environment here. There's also things like the first login, to where you can use smart pages to really engage individuals that, hey, we announced that it was coming and now it's here, and you can say, hey, take me to this. If I was to click this button right here, it would take me into the application. It's giving you a call to action. It's directing your end users to places where you want them to go to basically attain a better adoption of systems. In addition, one item I'm going to spend some time talking about is the split screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into our system right here. I'm going into Workday on this demo environment. And what we should see immediately pop up is a smart page. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we can deliver pop-up messages directly within an application. And this is a welcome to Workday. If there was another system, it would say welcome to that system. Again, the core concept behind any of these digital adoption solutions is to act as bridges between the different systems that you use to create a medium which is user-friendly and basically a direction, if you will, kind of guiding them along what you want them to input and how you want them to use the systems in front of them. Through this, I could play the video here. We've got some awesome 80s looking Chan retro video that's kind of in the background here. As we play this, it kind of goes through this example that we have on here. What is learning and development? And you've got some testimonials. Maybe there's a message from the sponsor. And then I say, show me more. And you can see over here on the right hand of the screen, this is what we call our split screen. And the split screen basically provides an embedded training and support materials within the application, ensuring users have relevant content and instructions on screen when performing tasks. And these are delivered through what we call playlists, and these playlists are searchable throughout all split screens. So I can set up split screen here on the home page where I have policy, procedure, job aids, frequently asked questions, videos from the sponsor, and all that information coming to you basically in a one-stop shop. So if you think about that, you never have to leave the system to get policy, procedure, or just-in-time information. We can use digital adoption solution like Adopt to fine-tune the user experience when we think about change management and give them that point, basically information at their point of need when they're coming into a system. So as an example right here, this is giving us a quick job aid, if you will, on how to create playlists. And playlists are kind of basically the backbone of these split screens. And we can put these playlists on different pages throughout Workday or other systems that you use. And they can basically interact with each other to where I can search up here and I could look for something in the system and say split screen. It would bring up actual repositories of information. And of course, if I click that, as I mentioned, we've got videos that you can use to kind of expand. It's all about engaging content, engaging the user, trying to bring them into really an alignment of a successful digital transformation. And one of the key ways that you do that is, of course, giving them the information when they need it, not making them go out into an eco-digital landscape that is filled with different systems and trying to figure out what they need to get. So I'll transition off of the smart screen here real quick, or the smart page, this split page here. And I'm gonna go up here back to the demo environment. And next thing I'm gonna talk about are training pages. And when we think about training pages, these are a cloud-based repository or library of really on-demand end user content. And this can act as a dedicated learning environment. And that allows us to kind of provide comprehensive training and support resources to your users at their point of need. And if we think back to that split screen that we were just looking at, is we can embed links into the split screen to take us directly to this. Now, training pages are less about communication and more about enablement and training, because we can customize this experience, if you will, to be aligned to the security of the user that's looking at it. If you're somebody in faculty, or if you're a manager, or if you're a president, then you're gonna see different information. But I think what you can see here is that we have some examples of videos, job aids, frequently asked questions, and of course, useful links. It's giving you a place to go out, raise a ticket with your ticket tracking system, if I could talk. And then of course, thinking about resources, learning, maybe policy and procedure handbooks. But again, it's that point of need, giving individuals what they need. So I'm going to go back into the Workday environment. And the next thing that I kind of want to talk to you about is trails. And we've talked about trails a little briefly here, but really when you think about digital adoption, this is what a lot of people hone in on, is this is the one thing that makes or breaks what their decisions are within this. And trails, if you have any experience with Workday, is really an enhanced version of guided tours. And as an example, I'm going to go in here to goals. I'm going to click goals, and I'm going to get basically a smart page. Again, we've associated a smart page here with a goal, giving you some critical information of, hey, there's a trail that's here. It's going to help you complete this task, adding a goal within Workday and basically how to ensure this is done correctly. So I'm going to hit start. And what you're going to have is you're going to have this basically working area kind of pop up. It's movable. You can move it where you want. If you don't need it and you've used it before, you can hit the X and you're going to have this mountain range down here. Now, it's going to give me step-by-step instructions, and really it's directly, and I think one of the key things to take is that step-by-step guidance directly within the application to help users through tasks and processes. And really from this, by coaching them through the completion of something, you're dramatically improving data accuracy and time to complete tasks. So as an example here, it's saying, hey, to create a new goal, click the edit. And you can see there's a blue box over here in the edit. So I'll say, okay, I'm going to click the edit. And now it's going to say add a goal. Now click add. I'll say add. I'll say, I'd like to move this over because it's a little bit closer to where I want it in my workspace. And now it's giving me some additional information. So it's saying the goal title. Hey, it's important to have this. We're giving you that field level information and kind of advising. Now I can move through the trail over here by clicking through the links, or I can use these arrows to kind of navigate myself forward. And it's going to continue to move me through the process until I get to completion. Now, as we go through, one of the things that you'll see is, oh, there's a video in here. You can embed videos into trails. You can embed job aids. You can embed frequently asked questions. Again, it's all about giving individuals information at their point of need. So I'll close out of the trail right now, and I'm going to go into one last thing as a part of our demonstration with you today. And it's probably my most, certainly the most favorite thing that I have about this. And it is, of course, core analytics. And when we think about analytics, apologies. Okay. So lastly, with core analytics, you're able to draw upon actionable intelligence to really evaluate content consumption trends, identifying how, when, and why your groups use each module, and kind of pinpointing adoption success and challenges, and better informing you of what works and what doesn't. Ultimately, this data takes the guesswork out of change management intervention and gives you actionable information to leverage. So as an example, we kind of looked at split screens, we looked at trails, we looked at training pages, and we looked at smart pages. If I was to go open up split screen, I now can see content consumption. These are all the split screens that are set up, from my information, the personal management, to getting started. I can see the type of content, whether it be PDF or video. I can see the views. I can see the content views per user and how many times are they going back in and looking at something. I can see the views by user role. And really what this starts to do is give us actionable information that we can work with. We go into trails. We can look at trails and kind of take this and say, okay, I see job requisition, there's trail steps, trail started, but there's only 287 completed. There's a 30% completion rate. What's happening here? Gives us a point to maybe we insert a smart page here and give them some direction on the importance of job, basically information that was missing. Maybe we add more information to the trail. But again, it starts to give you ideas of how your team or how basically your individuals are using the systems that are available to them and how they're tapping into the information at hand. So another example, training pages. We kind of visited that shortly, talked about the content that's up there. This allows you, again, to track the number of views, uses, content, and that content views per use, as well as who's looking at it by location, kind of giving you that big picture of what's going on. Lastly, you have things like page analytics and video analytics. And these are really powerful because now you can see for the videos that you have out there, how long are people watching these for? We've got 16 videos. There's basically, we have 100% completion, or do we have 30% engagement? What's our engagement level? Well, we've got a 60% engagement level amongst the videos that we have. That means basically the majority of people are completing the video, or at least getting halfway through the video. And then we can see basically what videos are being looked at the most and which are not. So maybe you spent a lot of investment on development plan video and, well, there's not a whole lot of people really using it. Is it valuable? You can make those decisions to maybe repurpose it and make it more valuable or add something else in place of it. So really, these analytics gives you the overview of all those modules that you're using, and it allows you to kind of reduce the support costs across your organization by giving you more information to the actionable results that is out there for you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Jimmy, the key here with this data is to streamline other areas of the organization. So we want to reduce calls to call centers. We want to reduce tickets that come in. If a question is more navigational in nature, how do I click this? What do I click? We want to embed that data, that instruction into the system itself. So number one, people find what they're looking for right at the point of need. And number two, they don't have to leave the system to find the answer. How many of you have, dug around a SharePoint site for 30 minutes trying to find something and then ultimately got frustrated and had to pick up the phone? That's what this Adopt solution is trying to avoid. If people do need to call a call center or ask HR or follow up with a subject matter expert, then we hope that it's because they have a difficult or complex situation that can't be solved by one of these built-in interventions.
No, great call out there, and certainly one of the true benefits of this. So I'll transition out of the demo and kind of open it up here for questions.
Thanks. If you have not entered any questions, please feel free to go ahead and do that via the question functionality in the webinar. We do have a couple already to get started. So one of the questions was, will the recording of this be available later? And yes, it will. It will be sent to all registrants and will be available on our website later this week. A follow-up question was, is the split screen content relative to the content being displayed?
That's a great question. It's relative to the page in which you're displaying the content. So ideally what we try to do is we build, say, a playlist for using that performance against the performance management. So anything to do with performance management, there'd be a playlist that kind of follows it along. The same thing holds true for, say, your homepage. There'd be a playlist designed to really hone in on actionable information that you want to get to quickly. That's more meaningful directly off the homepage. Maybe it's frequently asked questions, or it's basically go live information of going out, a video, those types of things. But it is relative to basically the page that you're doing, and we can modify basically that split screen to show different information in different areas of the system.
It's also, I'll add, is based on your role. So if a manager or an employee, HR, finance, depending on what the roles are, will show you information specific to who you are and what your role is in the organization.
Great, thanks guys. We have another question. How do you get senior stakeholders to recognize change management as a concept? Often they assume that change will just happen and don't understand change management as a function that they should invest in.
Yeah, so I can take this one. It's tough, right? You have to start with educating those folks. And part of the education is persuading them that our recommendations are, and for them to get involved is going to make or break the project. So creating that urgency up front and showing them that data. I also like to give people concrete tasks of what to do so that they don't have to think too hard. You know, people who are our senior stakeholders, they do have a lot on their minds. So I'd go back to what we said earlier about giving them talking points for presentations or town halls, having them sit for promotional videos or sending out org-wide communications, and just making the problem smaller for them and giving them actionable things that they can do to advance the change. The other thing I do is I think it's really helpful to be real and transparent with people and ask them what their concerns are. Do they support the project? Why or why not? I find that if someone does have a negative view of the project or of the results that you can get from change management, it's probably because they haven't had the chance to ask questions or really be educated around the topic. So those, I think that would be really helpful. And people who start out as detractors sometimes turn into your biggest champions or supporters. So I think investing internally in that relationship with your senior stakeholders, and if you can, getting the opportunity to persuade them of what change management is and what the results are of effective change management can really go a long way. The last thing I'll say about this is, so I've been in change management for like 10 plus years, and a lot of the knock against change management is that it's the fluffy stuff, it's not data driven. We employ a very data driven approach in our work with change management for Workday. And so if you can gather data, research about why employing change management tactics is important, what is the end result, what is the ROI we expect, and then what are we going to do tactically as a change management work stream to help realize the benefits of this project. That I think is a great starting point.
Thanks. We have a follow-up question. Do you typically see the Adopt software replace a help website? And also, does the Workday guided tours go away when using Trails?
So I can take this one. So there's a monetary investment when you think about anything with those training websites, or of course with the Adopt solution. So yes, you certainly can use, say, the training pages to replace, and that is often what could be advised in a situation like that. But if you're beholden to a website and it's extremely beneficial to you and there's a lot of investment in there, then we can of course always sustain that model and have something like Adopt feed into it, if you will. As it goes with guided tours, you're still going to have guided tours in Workday. Usually what we advise when it comes to a trail standpoint is to focus on the really complex business processes in Workday, the ones that users are going to have really going to struggle with, and then of course using guided tours for a little bit more of the simplistic ones, updating personal information or things like that. But when you think about a complex process like a change job or even a job requisition, where there's specific information that we have to make sure is data driven and correct because it's going to define the workflow, that's when you'd bring in a trail to help guide that user in the most successful means possible.
The other thing I'll add to that too is guided tours aren't available for every process in the Workday system, especially the finance side. So using a tool like Adopt allows you to scale this in-system support for any process that you want in the system. And it could be different depending on your organization, what the needs are of your end users, all those considerations. And that can be a really powerful advantage of using a tool like Adopt.
Thanks, guys. We have another question. We expect our faculty, who will be managers in Workday, to resist a transactional MSS role. How do we engage and encourage them to do things we are asking them to do in Workday?
Yeah, so I'll take a stab at this one. So for me, I think it's a mix of a functional configuration and change management. So from a functional standpoint, We want to streamline the processes and make sure they're designed with the faculty in mind, so we're not overwhelming people, and we're just asking them to do just the basic things that we need to get the answers we need in the system. From a change management standpoint, we want to ensure that the faculty understands the vision for the project. So that's all that basic stuff, like where do we want to go? What are we trying to achieve? Why is the support of faculty so crucial to the outcome of this project? And then again, going back to being concrete, like what are we asking them to do and why are we asking them to do it? And frankly, when are we asking them to do it? So I feel like whenever we ask someone to do something new, we need to be very direct and prescriptive so that there's no confusion about the ask. And that's really key in driving engagement.
Thank you. Another question we have is, as a university, we have a lot of different influencers and decision makers. How have you created successful sponsorship roadmaps to keep our leaders informed and on the same page?
So I think this goes back to the question that we had a couple questions ago around just educating stakeholders and making sure that they're bought into the change. So yeah, I would go back to just education around change management. What is the value? What is the overall vision for the organization? What are we hoping to achieve? And then persuading them that the change management strategies and tactics of developing high end user adoption are in support of our overall digital transformation strategy. The folks who tend to sit at the top of large companies and large organizations like universities tend to be very results focused. So to the extent that you can provide research and data to back up your ideas around change management, I think that'll really go a long way.
Thanks again. I think another good question we have here is, we're already live. Can you focus on digital adoption after an implementation, or does this need to be deployed at the same time as Workday?
So I'm happy to take this one. If you're already live, absolutely, this is still a great opportunity to think about digital adoption, because it's still an opportunity to bring everything together and have a cohesive plan to sustain the various systems and really improve and enhance the overall end user experience as they're engaging and utilizing the software that's out there. So you like to try and get ahead of it as best you can as kind of a go live initiative, if you will. But it doesn't mean that digital adoption solutions don't get brought in post go live situations to help address user adoption of systems, because they're not doing things, as we kind of talked about, in the right and meaningful ways. And something like, say, adopt being brought in helps you to align and figure out what's working, what's not working, and start putting critical, basically, information in front of these of your constituents to help get them up to speed, and of course support a sustainment model downstream.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we were talking about like getting stakeholder buy-in for investing in change management and that kind of thing. What a great time to bring in an adopt tool after you go live, because then you can draw data out of the system telling you how people are interacting with the support tools that are available and how successful they are with running transactions. So you can then take that data that Adopt is giving you and share it with your leadership and design a strategy and a plan for helping to increase adoption based on where you are in your current state. Like I was sharing when I was talking about that success story a few minutes ago, that the employee population was at 97%, which is great. The manager population was at 65% adoption. Still leaves lots of room for improvement, right? So identifying where we want to spend our time and money to bridge the gap between that 65% and that 97%. It's great to have actionable data from a tool like Adopt or from some of the reports that you can run just inherently in Workday to help support the vision for that change.
Excellent. We probably have time for one or more too. So one more that came in is, each of our schools and even the departments within the schools have a unique culture and a way of doing things. But we've heard that Workday generally requires standardization as part of its implementation. How do we recognize the different culture differences and challenges between the departments and schools by generating buy-in for what we need to accomplish as part of Workday?
Yeah, so I think the message for those folks has to be that we're not critiquing the individual departments or the culture or the way you do things necessarily. We're looking at the processes themselves, and we're trying to optimize and streamline so that everybody is freed up to do other stuff. So let's make the process better, and then our folks there can focus on value add activities where there's a need elsewhere in the department, where they can be strategic or they can provide support to a different initiative. So and then I also think this goes back to why why senior leaders are so important in these changes, because at the start of these projects and even before, optimally, you want your strategic leaders to anticipate these types of changes and these types of this type of resistance within culturally unique departments, and lay out a vision for what people's roles are going to be. So in some cases, that may be that people have to move to a different role or change how they do things, and that should be seen as that's okay. We have a plan for that. We're going to shift as needed, and we're going to support the people who are going to be undergoing this change and ensuring that they'll be successful in whatever we're asking them to do.
Thank you, that's great. That's all the questions we have so far. So I think right now I'm just going to say thank you very much to my colleagues for the great information that they've shared with everyone today. It's a really exciting topic, both from the ability to use adoption to help drive transformation, but also a deep dive look into some of the tools available to help support digital adoption and making sure we look at everything within the frame of reference of how change management is critical to the success of these projects. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope that this was valuable. And again, as a reminder, we will be providing copies of this webinar to everyone, as well as making them available on our website if you'd like to share it with your colleagues as well. Thank you.
Nope, thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.